This is the Poco M8 Pro and it offers a lot more than the price suggests. And I've been testing its cameras, its batteries, its display and its performance, and it's really surprised me. But there's one thing you need to know before you slam that money down and buy this phone. And in this review, we're going to detail every aspect of the M8 Pro and answer the question, is this M8 Pro worth buying? So let's start off by talking about what is good with the M8 Pro, and let's start off with the back, and that's that 50 megapixel light fusion sensor with OIS on the rear of the Poco M8 Pro. And here you get really good images in broad daylight. The Poco M8 Pro is punching way above its weight class. The dynamic range is honestly impressive for the price, nailing exposures even on gloomy days without blowing out the highlights, while indoor lighting can be a bit hit or miss. Outdoor shots in general look really good with great punchy, likable colors and solid detail. Even the 2x zoom holds its own, proving to an extent you don't need huge megapixel counts. In low light, this again stays reliable. It handles contrasty scenes really well, keeping shadows and highlights well balanced. The colors get a little more conservative, I'd say, and it's definitely not the sharpest night shooter, but still really good and actually quite similar to the Redmi Note 15 Pro Plus. On the video side, the main lens is 4K 30, which is awesome, and then the output is again very similar in terms of colors and balance as the photos you get out of the main 50 megapixel lens. The design aspect of the Poco M8 Pro is this really cool two-tone effect. It's silver in the middle, as you can see, but on the sides here, it's kind of a mock carbon fiber look, which is cool and does differentiate it quite a lot from the M7 Pro. One other thing that differentiates it and a number of specs is that this is IP68-69K dust and water resistance, meaning using this out in the rain or in more durable circumstances, it will cope really well, and that's awesome. And then the design as a whole is a little bit different because you do get flat edges all the way around, but if you come in really close, this display is actually curved across all four corners and slightly, ever so slightly raised, which means when you have it in your hand, it does feel really comfortable, even for a phone that has such a large display. And speaking about display, you get a 6.83 inch 120Hz AMOLED with 3200 nits of peak brightness. Again, all of that is an upgrade over the M7 Pro, and it does a really nice job. Vibrant, punchy, delivered excellent visuals, and there's also support for Dolby Vision as well. And then content consumption in here is really good. When you combine that with the sound output, you do get a phone that delivers really loud sound that's still quite clear and looks really good as well.
One would have told me that I'd actually get the chance to sit behind the wheel and drive this 911 across Taiwan, where all the inspiration of the car is coming from. You probably wouldn't have believed it either, right? But it actually happened, for real. Like I said, I took the car all the way around the island and drove it across towering mountains, through deepest jungles, past rice fields and along scenic coastal roads. That was simply mind-blowing and beyond imagination.
The M8 Pro is powered by a Snapdragon 7S Gen 4, which is a huge uplift over the M7 Pro. And when you run this through 3D Mark's Lifestyle Extreme test, you get a chipset that is incredibly well optimized. You get over 99% in terms of stability score, which means there is little to no throttling on this phone when it comes to its CPU, even under heavy load, which is sick. And then battery and heat management is again awesome, especially heat management. Running through that 20-minute lifestyle test, it only increased the temperature by 5 degrees, which is amazing. And then when it comes to gaming, you've got Call of Duty Mobile on here, which runs really well. In fact, you get a stable 90 FPS with high graphics and frame rates on both, which is actually mental. And on top of that, the graphics look really great, capture a ton of detail, and this is in boost mode as well. And when we play the entire game of Hardpoint, the screen brightness is around 60%. Sound out loud, we only lost a single percent in battery. And then on the battery front, you get 6,500 milliamp hours and 100 watts of wire charging, which are all significant uplifts over the M7 Pro. In fact, those two specs are way above its price category and outduel even something like an iPhone 17 Pro Max and a Samsung S25 Ultra, just to name a few. Now, we've spoken a lot about the highlights of what's good, but let's touch on what's, I guess, bad about the Poco M8 Pro. First of all, you get 4 OS updates right out of box for this Poco M8 Pro. For longevity wise, it's really good, but there are some downsides. It launches with Android 15 and HyperOS 2, which is really weird considering you can get phones that came out last year that launched with Android 16 and HyperOS 3. Really, really odd omissions. And then there's the other really, really big problem, and that's bloatware. You get over 30 plus apps of bloatware pre-installed on here, which you can remove a lot of those, but some of those will actually prompt ads on the actual phone itself. I think it's something called an app mole. That's the most sort of intrusive of all the apps. In general though, using the operating system as a whole is really, really good. Fast transitions, really smooth, tons of customization options, and just navigating around the phone is very, very good, aided by that CPU. And then in terms of features, you still get a lot of the great AI features like AI eraser, so it helps remove objects from an image, and full Gemini integration as well. Then the cameras. We mentioned that 50 megapixel main sensor was really, really good and did a really good job of producing really good quality photos, be it day predominantly, and sometimes at night. But the other sensor in here is an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and it's overly soft, I would say, and lacks any real like popping detail. Dynamic range is okay at best, but overall, this is not something that you're going to want to use on a regular basis. There's a lot of AI happening here to enhance images, but it still does nothing to kind of retain the detail. I would default to the standard video as being the better option for photos and video across that main lane. Then there's the design aspect. The M8 Pro got quite a big change versus the M7 Pro, and it looks absolutely fantastic. But with anything, there are cost-cutting measures when such a change has happened, and that lives at the bottom of this phone. Not in the speakers, but actually in the tray which houses the SIM card, because this Poco M8 Pro does no longer have expandable storage. But weirdly, the M8 standard does have expandable storage. Why? I have absolutely no idea, because I think it'd be better suited to this phone to increase storage versus the M8, which is likely to be used less as a camera/content consumption device. So the final thoughts on the Poco M8 Pro. It cost at launch £349 here in the UK, and that's a pretty good price, especially considering all the uplift in manufacturing costs that have been recently noted in the news. But you do get a lot of highs here. Things like the display is stunning, looks really great, 120 Hz. You get rapid charging, huge battery life, and performance in general is really, really good. But the one thing we would mention at the start of this video that we want to sort of make you overly aware of and recognize is that intrusive ads on the software can potentially be a deal breaker. You can remove those apps, you can disable a lot of those notifications, but the fact that it's on there does devalue the Poco M8 Pro just a little bit. It doesn't stop us from recommending this phone, but I would say factor that in if you do decide to get this, that you will need to do a bit of legwork to get it optimized as you would. Overall though, it's a really, really good phone. Sub 349, around 349 is a really good price point. But let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on the Poco M8 Pro. Is it something you'd buy? And be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And please follow along our journey as we grow this community to 50k subs in 2026. Until next one, as always, we out.